Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashanah Shai Bahashem Bakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. To the confusion of faith that are joined unto our ranks. To the Akwaf that are listening and learning, the hopefully elect. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm coming at you with another lesson from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago. And let's open this lesson with the scripture. This is Psalms 55 and 21, and it reads, "The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords."
The United States has come out blaming Iran for attacks on 2 oil tankers earlier today. And who believes this? Because I know I don't. So let's just give you some of the background here. This is from CNBC. But the takeaways are this. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Thursday blamed Iran for attacks earlier in the day on oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman near Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, a vital shipping route through which much of the world's oil passes. Quote, "Iran is lashing out because the regime wants our successful maximum pressure campaign lifted," unquote, Pompeo said. No economic sanctions entitle the Islamic Republic to attack innocent civilians, disrupt global oil markets, and engage in nuclear blackmail, he continued to say.
She says she didn't believe it. This is Job 27 and 15. "Those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widows shall not weep." Even the Edomite woman, as this one, is tired of the Edomite man. Esau, the curses is completely and totally upon them. They are a nation divided, and now their women are coming against them, especially with Trump in office. But let's let her continue.
The White House said President Donald Trump was briefed on the matter and blamed Tehran of being behind a similar attack on May 12th on 4 tankers in the same area. Now, why would Iran go and attack oil tankers? Because we put maximum pressure on them for sanctions, and so now they want to escalate into war? That doesn't make any sense. Now, let's go on to say what the Washington Post wrote about this. So we've got these 2 petrochemical tankers in the Gulf of Oman. They came under suspected attack early Thursday amid the tensions between the United States and Iran. Here's what we know. This is from the Washington Post. The attacks, which were high profile and apparently carried out in broad daylight, marked a serious escalation in a volatile region and one of the world's most important waterways. The timing of the attacks was extremely sensitive and appeared aimed at undermining Japan's efforts to encourage talks between the United States and Iran. U.S. military officials have assessed that the attacks were carried out by Iran or forces under its influence, a defense official said. One of 2 ships attacked Thursday off the coast of Oman. A Japanese-owned tanker was targeted just as Japan's Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe, was wrapping up a high-stakes visit to Tehran to help cool hostilities in the region and potentially mediate U.S.-Iran talks. Well, of course. Yes, there's Japan. Shinzo Abe goes to Iran. He says, you know what, maybe we can just kind of cool this down. And strangely, while he's there trying to have peace talks with Iran, all of a sudden one of their oil tankers gets attacked. In order to what? So that we could then point to Iran and say, see Japan, they're not friendly. They're not for peace. Look at what they do. Yeah, what would be exactly Iran's motivation in that? The attack appeared timed to undermine those efforts. Right, because Iran would time it to undermine those efforts. Yeah, come visit us, come hang out, let's talk peace. Hold on, let's blow up some of your oil tankers while you're here. No, okay, who believes this? Nobody believes this. Iran certainly wouldn't time it for that. That would be somebody else. Like perhaps the United States would time it while Japan is in Tehran to say, see, Iran, they're not friendly. The attack appeared timed to undermine those efforts, which Abe called a major step forward towards securing peace and stability in this region, something we don't want. The United States government does not want stability and peace. We don't want to secure that. We want war, right? We want war. So, hey, Japan, let's blow up one of your tankers so that you want war too. A second vessel owned by Norway's Frontline was on fire and adrift in the Gulf of Oman near the Strait of Hormuz. This would get the Europeans angry. It was suspected of being hit by a torpedo, an official with Taiwan's state oil refiner CPC Corp, which chartered the vessel, told Reuters news agency. Now, I'm not saying that this Taiwanese official was wrong, but there is, you have to understand that Taiwan is under a lot of pressure right now with mainland China, and they desperately want the United States to remain on Taiwan's side and to continue to defend Taiwan. So they would have an absolute invested interest in sticking with the narrative of whatever the U.S. says. Just keep that in mind. A U.S. defense official who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe an evolving U.S. response said military officials assessed that the attacks were carried out by Iran or forces under its influence. He said officials think the attacks were conducted by divers using limpet bombs, but did not say how that conclusion was reached. You know why they would say it was divers and why they would use divers if this was a staged attack? Because there's no photograph evidence of this. And that's going to be important when we go on and we talk about the Gulf of Tonkin incident that marched us into the Vietnam War and how these two incidents parallel. Because when you have photographic evidence.
This is Job 13:4. But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value.
It's a lot easier to convince people of who did it if they actually did it. But if they didn't do it and you can't, and you know they didn't do it, and you're going to stage it, you better do it from underneath. And then you say, oh, well, we don't have any photos of it because they did it from underneath. The U.S. Central Command is sending additional troops and weaponry to the Middle East, a move that senior officials have said is necessary to confront increased threats from Iran. There are no increased threats from Iran. Iran is not trying to pick a fight with the United States. That's the last thing Iran wants. They do not want war with the United States. That is not what Iran wants. There's no benefit to Iran for this. Not one. Not one.
See, these Edomites in America want war because America is on the verge of collapsing. The dollar's on the verge of collapsing. All right, the economy is falling through. The infrastructure is falling through. And the only way to keep it going is war. They're over $200 trillion in debt. That's the real debt, not the 22 trillion. It's actually over 200 trillion in debt, and they will never be able to pay that back. And the only way to reestablish themselves and stay significant and stay the top world power is to go to war. Problem is that now everyone knows it, and their allies and their friends are all starting to come against them. And she will prove that.
Single benefit. The incidents Thursday followed similar attacks targeting oil tankers in the same area last month, assaults the U.S. officials also blamed on Iran. Iranian officials deny involvement. Quote, suspicious doesn't begin to describe what likely transpired this morning, unquote. That's what the Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif said Thursday on Twitter. Yeah, suspicious doesn't even begin to describe this. So the good news about all of this is that when this attack happened, I went to Twitter and the Gulf of Tonkin was trending. So people are opening their eyes to the fact that the United States narratives are often a bunch of bullshit.
Because Esau is a liar and the father of them. And the Gulf of Tonkin was basically the proven now and admitted now false flag event that started the Vietnam War, which caused over 1 million Vietnamese and over 55,000 American soldiers. And those are just the numbers that they're giving you. The numbers are way higher. And that was a horrific and horrible, bloody, nasty. How many movies have been made about Vietnam? None of the movies could even begin to fathom, to show you an inkling of how horrific it really was, man. That was a horrible, horrible conflict. And America's on the verge of having another one of those down in South America in Venezuela, on top of this nonsense that they've gotten themselves into right here. All right? But like she said, the people of the world are waking up to the fact, including American allies, that their narratives are bullshit. This is Isaiah 47 and verse 1. I'm going to read through verse 3. And it says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate, because America is about to get touched. All right? America's about to get touched and ran through by the nations, man. So all that stormtroopers, American troopers going in and doing the things that they've done, it's about to be done unto them, and much, much worse. All right. Verse 2. Take the millstone and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers, thy nakedness. So that means complete and total penetration. This place is about to be ravished, violently ravished. All right. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yeah, thy shame shall be seen. And I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man, because the Lord is also coming to take vengeance on this place. Let's look into another video now on the same subject matter.
Now to a story that seems to be picking up steam all over the world. So last night, we laid out for you
Evidence questioned.
the doubt that is being expressed by many all over the world regarding the accusations leveled by U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo early this morning, where he is accusing Iran of attacking tankers in the Gulf of Oman. So Pompeo is saying, we know for sure now it was Iran. In fact, he goes even further. He's now
wait a minute, wait a minute. Let's go back.
He said,
this is the images.
For you,
see how clear that is?
Expressed by
the image behind him of the tanker, all right, that was attacked. Wait, and then let's take a real close look, all right, at the image that America's going to present as their evidence. It looked like it's 40 to 50 years old, man. Why, with all the technology that they have in satellite imagery, this is the evidence that they produce? And then they fabricated some story to try to match it. Let's let it play.
By many all over the world regarding the accusations leveled by U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo early this morning, where he is accusing Iran of attacking tankers in the Gulf of Oman. So Pompeo is saying, we know for sure now it was Iran. In fact, he goes even further.
Wow.
He's now displaying this image. See that right there? He says that image purports to show Iranians, or somehow agents of Iran, removing an explosive that apparently did not detonate. So apparently the Iranians came back to the scene of the crime after they realized one of their bombs did not go off, so then they had to try and take it off. And that's what they say that image right there is showing, while the other two apparently did. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of people are taking issue with the fact that the holes on the ship themselves are very, very high. Now, the image is raising many questions, especially given this, and this is important. The crew on board the tanker that was attacked is saying that they are certain that they saw some kind of projectile hitting their ship, and that it wasn't from underneath and it wasn't from the water, that it was from the air. In other words,
the first report said it was a torpedo. Then they tried to say that someone came. Then they tried to say that they placed a mine up that high. Who places a mine? Mines are in the water. The story keeps changing, man. When stories are changing, that means someone is lying.
By their eyewitness statement, it wasn't a mine or, some kind of magnetically attached bomb. So we've got a couple of different statements. I got three of them for you. First, let's go to former Pentagon official Michael Maloof earlier today here on RT America.
Pompeo expects us to believe this film as the most definitive evidence to date, and we should not. We should be very skeptical. And the question then arises, well, how did those limpets get on the side? A limpet is a magnetic bomb, and that's what they were. Because the explosions occurred above the water line, that means it had to be a magnetic means of holding that bomb there. And as a consequence, how could that have happened?
Yeah, how could that have happened is the question that's being asked. Now here, this is...
Yeah, so it's like I said, so the speedboat sped up next to the tanker with their Iranian flag flying on it. Got next to the tanker and put a magnetic bomb on it and then sped off and detonated. That is the most retarded... Man, you Edomites are getting really, really sloppy, man. Really sloppy.
information that crossed just moments ago I'm going to share with you. This is the German foreign minister. His name is Heiko Maas. He's saying, though Washington officials rush to blame Iran for the attack, other countries remain skeptical. He says the video that the U.S. shows is not enough. We can understand why it's being shown, sure, but to make a final assessment, this is not enough for me. Again, this is the Germans casting doubt, apparently, on that
America's
video.
allies
he's not
are
the
not
only
with them.
one to point out, as many are, that unfortunately, and it almost hurts to say this, our government has established a long history of making accusations like these that have turned out to just not be true. Just to name a few. Gulf of Tonkin, the Iraq smoking gun story, Syria chemical weapons attack in Douma. All of them were said to be true, turned out they weren't. Here now, former U.S. diplomat Jim Jatras.
Right away, when something is at the very least doubtful about what happened, we have not only the government sources, but the media rushing to pin the tail on the designated culprit under circumstances that seem awfully convenient, don't they? I mean, here, how many people have been saying that the rush to war toward Iran seems to be abating somewhat? We've got Abe going to Tehran. Maybe he's got a message from Trump. Maybe there's a first step to working things out, and then, bam, something happens. It's awfully convenient, and you say to yourself, all right, is it too convenient?
So it's important to point out, by the way, that Iran was in the midst of high-level and friendly meetings with the Japanese prime minister in and around the time the tanker attacks took place.
So while you're having a friendly meeting, all right, so that you could do business together and make who knows how many billions, they're going to go out and attack you while that's going on. This is ridiculous.
What's, I guess, most important here is that the tanker was a Japanese vessel. And Iran officials asked, what sense would it make for us to attack a Japanese vessel while we're meeting in a friendly confines with Japanese officials? Meanwhile, one other note, and this is important. The attack has sent the price of oil across the globe way, way up.
Immediately.
And the trend has continued throughout today.
This is Habakkuk 2:15. Woe to him that giveth his neighbor drink, and putteth that bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. So America has a history of feeding drugs, of drunkenness, lies to their allies, to their neighbors. So you got to get their neighbors to side with them. But no, nobody's going anymore, man. It's over. Babylon is finished, and you Edomites are exposed, man. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Abishai Bashem Rakar Kadash Wa Abba Ba Kwam Yasharala.